So my concerns are that I feel that Mr. John owes all the elected officials and the taxpayers of this county an explanation on why he went against the legal advice from our attorney and hired Mr. Curry while he's currently in a federal lawsuit against this county.
I
told you I was going to read
our legal counsel if I could.
You keep saying legal counsel, and I've also talked to the legal counsel, and you have two legal counsels. This man here is responsible for the well-being of the overall county itself. He instructed you in a meeting that I was also present in to not even talk to Mr. Curry, and yet you've already rehired him, let alone the other things that's going on. So Mr. John was advised multiple times by legal counsel, specifically the district attorney of Comanche County, to avoid all contact with Mr. Curry because he had retained counsel and was actively suing the county. I also believe Mr. John has disclosed confidential communications from executive sessions with Mr. Curry and what I would call collusion to extort the maximum amount of money from our taxpayers in this county.
That is a flat-out lie.
Mr. John has also attempted to break the law and circumvent the Open Meeting Act by communicating with a third party in an attempt to to explain his reckless actions to me.
What proof do you have of that? You're making accusations.
Really be careful on what evidence you ask for. In fact, he has tried to use this third party to convince me that he's resolved the lawsuit and negotiated the complaint with Mr. Curry. The amount that just happens to be the maximum amount that had only been discussed in an executive session. Knowing these amounts were only discussed internally in an executive session and not even brought out in our mediation, there's no doubt that Mr. John and Mr. Curry are not colluding against this county and the taxpayers of it. At this point, I can no longer in good faith negotiate this lawsuit with Mr. Curry, knowing that he has been advised of all the confidential communications that were discussed in executive sessions. I am making it clear, and under no circumstance will I offer any taxpayer money to settle this lawsuit with above what the insurance company is willing to pay, if they're even willing to pay anything at this point. Mr. John continues to put his personal relationships in front of his duties to protect this county. Mr. John, is there a reason that you decided to make these reckless decisions, or is this just a campaign promise that you're fulfilling?
I have a statement here. Copy.
I'm not all the way done, so.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, Mr.
I will not comment in open session about a singled out employee, especially one that has open litigation with the county. I understand that this was an executive session that you moved to a public.
It actually wasn't. I actually sent it as an open session to begin with, wasn't I?
See,
the county clerk's here. I sent her the email.
I'm not discussing.
I hired Mr. Curry back, though, during an active lawsuit and negotiations. You not only opened us up to potential liability for every elected official in this room, but you also set a precedent that will be detrimental to our county and our workforce. Bringing him back only took the only bargaining chip off the table that we had left.
That's a lie.
Since you've clearly communicated with Mr. Curry about this matter, where'd you think the additional money was going to come from? Do you not understand that the money that we pay out of these extra accounts that don't have an actual office tied to them comes out of the pocket of every single elected official at this courthouse? We use those funds to pay for extra things, such as extra programs or extra bills that may pop up.
Of where the money comes from.
Mr. John, this is not the first time in the short time you've been in office.
How do you want me to respond to this?
I told you I was going to read
executive sessions.
If you would have listened to my first explanation, you would have had an opportunity. Your executive sessions are no longer valid because you've already colluded with the other.
You have no proof of anything. You're making accusations.
You know I have proof, and then I'll make sure that if we pass it on, if you keep on. Mr. John, it's not the first time in your short time in office that you've gone rogue and decided to do something against legal advice, and as a result put yourself along with the other elected officials in a bad position. This time I will not sit by and let it go. Today the agenda item was worded to draw attention from anybody who happens to read this agenda, in hopes that the public embarrassment might teach you a lesson to learn before to learn before you walk yourself into criminal charges. I urge you one last time to please follow the legal advice that is provided, or you will be held accountable moving forward. Much like you, I made campaign promises. Mine weren't about doing business with my buddies or getting a fat check from this county. Mine were about being transparent and about holding all of the elected official offices accountable. You know how you're now on my radar. So please take the necessary steps so we don't have to hold you any further accountable. That's all I have. If you'd like to add something, you're more than welcome to.
No, thank you, Josh.
Okay. Moving on then. Item number 8. Acknowledgement, receipt of Ryan John, Commissioner, District 1.